Hello everyone, this is AUI_2000, coach of Team Tundra, and I'm going to be doing a draft analysis of the TI11 Grand Finals between us and Team Secret. I'm going to divide this into three parts. One thing to note is that when I talk about the drafts, I'm going to be talking about stuff using sort of the number on Dota buff. The first four bands are 1, 2, 3, 4, and the first pick is actually 5, and then 8, and then you have like 15, 18. And I do that because this is just how I'm used to doing it from scrims and stuff. It's how we talk about it as teams, so sorry for the confusion on that. Okay, so to start, before I start talking about this draft, I want to talk a little bit about our plan going in against Team Secret. So what happened this TI was that we played Team Secret in the upper bracket finals, where we beat them 2-1, and we had done a lot of prep for that series. So when we were going to play either Liquid or Secret, when they played in the lower bracket finals, I actually did all my prep on Team Liquid, and we just adjusted during that hour between the match for Team Secret. Luckily for us, I don't think they modified their ideas of Dota too much. One, it's really hard to do that, and two, it's like they had to play Liquid, who's a really hard opponent, and people don't know, but you actually don't have as much time as you think in between the lower bracket and upper bracket finals, because while you have like an hour to prepare, they play the all-star match and stuff, you actually have to get fitted for the TI ring in case you win, and also you have to get the mics hooked up in for True Sight, so that cuts into your prep time a lot. Anyway, so I'm just going to start with this draft. Going into the series, I think there are a few heroes we're thinking about. There was Nyx, Marcy, Leshrac, Doom, and Dawnbreaker that we were thinking about. And I think versus Team Secret, one thing that we knew is that we didn't want to give them the Nyx Dawnbreaker. We had played against that in the upper bracket finals. We thought that allowed them to play the map really well, and it was sort of like pick your poison for what you want to play against. At first, we were sort of hesitant to play against the Marcy. My idea was that the Marcy, they played it in both 1, 3, and 4. It was very flexible for them. And Chrysalis, he actually played a bunch of games in pubs. I don't know, like 5 games recently, where 4 of them he had over 20 kills or something. Like, he was just having insane impact when I watched the games. So we didn't really want to give them the Marcy for a core role. We could play against that. I don't think there's anything that we really didn't want to play against other than the Nyx Dawnbreaker, but you're sort of picking your poison. So for the first game, we decided to play against the Leshrac. We banned Marcy to prevent the carry, Nyx to prevent the Dawnbreaker stuff, and we understood that they were probably going to ban 2 of Neda's heroes in the first phase that looked scary to them because, I don't know, Neda's a scary player. So right now, like, the bans were sort of according to what we thought would happen, and they were going to first pick Leshrac. We sort of predicted this, and we decided that we want to answer Leshrac with Tusker and Potom. The reason for this is because Leshrac, he's like supposed to be the super OP hero in this tournament, but I personally felt he was a bit overrated because he's very one-dimensional. He still does a lot because that's how OP heroes are, but how he fights, he sort of has to run in, and if you can make it hard for him to run in, burst him when he runs in, or make it hard for him to hit a lot of heroes to heal with his blood zone, I think the value of the hero decreases a lot. So our answer to that was the Tusker and the Potom. Both of them have a lot of nukes. Tusker lanes pretty well versus the Leshrac mid. I mean, I don't think Tusker is expected to destroy Leshrac or anything, but it's good enough. And that makes, in our opinion, it made the Leshrac a lot lower value. Something to note about how the draft order works is that first pick has 2 really strong picks. The really strong picks are the 5 pick if there's an inbuilt hero in that patch. So you can think back to when, I don't know, let's say when Puppy would jungle on Lycan support, and Lycan was like first pick every game that patch. That was a really first pick patch. And the other strong pick is your 8 pick, because you get to pick this hero on 8, and you get to ban 3 heroes. So you can sort of cover your 8 pick, whatever it is. The other thing that you should look out for is, like, if you have a flexible pick, it's a lot harder for second pick to get counter picks. For example, how it works right now is that if you pick 2 heroes that have to go to a certain lane, maybe in this tournament some Lina plus some support, or some support into a Lina, they know the Lina's mid. That means if second pick just picks 2 supports in the first 2, or 2 potential supports, which Miranda and Tusker can be supports, they can counterpick the Lina on 15. You'll pick your 16, 17, and then they'll counterpick you again on 18, whichever core you picked. You pick 23, they counterpick again on 24. And then they have 3 core counterpicks, which generally makes the draft a bit difficult. It's not like you can't come back from them, but it's very hard in Dota right now, in any patch basically, to lose 3 lanes on counters. It's doable, but it just makes the draft annoying. I'd consider a draft disadvantage. So we picked this Tusker and Mirana. They picked the Tiny. I think it's definitely not a bad pick from them. The Tiny will catch Tuskar and Mirana on the map, the toss back gives like a clear way to start a fight. It also sort of nullifies the Tuskar snowball save because you can't snowball save into an avalanche, and if you do snowball save, you can avalanche after and stun whoever you have in the snowball with you. Tiny, for me, Tiny's also just a pretty high value hero. I don't know, he's sort of like a TI hero, right? Because in these high pressure situations, you get a toss back. It makes the team fights very simple and straightforward. You toss a guy back, you burst this guy. They banned Alina. I think this is specifically because they played versus Liquid. This is probably also because of the 5-day break. They don't know how much Lina mid we play. We actually did practice some mid Lina, but it is a very good counter to Leshrac. As I mentioned before, Leshrac can get made hard when you make it really hard for him to run in because he's going to die, or you make it hard for his ult to hit a lot of people. Lina does both of those because she has very high range and very high damage, and is both types of damage. The other way you can make life hard for Leshrac is something I remember CCNC talked to me about on Death Prophet, is that you have both types of damage. Because Death Prophet, Leshrac, these heroes are sort of imba when you only have one type of damage against you. So say you play Leshrac against all physical, you buy your Bloodstone, you buy 2 plate mails, and you run in, and you're good. You play against all magical, you can buy Bloodstone, you don't even need to buy the BKB after, you might just be able to buy a lot of magic resistance, like some Eternal Shroud, or just 2 cloaks, hood, whatever it is, and then your itemization is very simple from there. That way you can itemize for one type of damage plus offensive items. But if they have both types of damage, it's very hard to itemize for 2 defensive types plus offensive items. So you often become over defensive, and if you're not outputting enough damage, these defensive items don't matter as much. Anyways, so that's one idea that you can sort of think about when you play Dota as a hero that needs to mix in defensive items, DP, Leshracs, whatever else. Is they banned the Leicester and Beastmaster, and we chose to ban the 3 heroes that we thought would be good versus Tuskar. I think it might change based on whatever we're feeling. We actually did beat their Morphling mid with the Tuskar mid in, I think it was group stage, but it's not a bad hero for them. It's another flexible hero. We didn't want to give that option to them. And Crystallis has like 3,000 gigs of Monkey King, so you just don't want to give Crystallis this hero. After these bans, we picked Hoodwink. I think the reason we picked this is we just want to solidify our idea of bursting down this Leshrac. We are going to keep poking them until opportunity arises, and then Tuskar or whoever hero made some Hoodwinks on, made some arrow, is going to stunt on, and we're just going to throw other spells on them. And right now, they don't have a save. So they respond to the Hoodwink by picking Enigma and Lich here. I actually think this was a mistake in their draft. The Enigma pick, I don't mind. I think it matches up decently well versus Mirana 5, which we played Mirana both on 4 and 5, but we had only played Hoodwink on 4, so they should sort of assume this Hoodwink is 4 and Mirana's 5. They don't know for sure, but you have to make some percentage assumptions in the draft. But I think the Lich pick is actually not that good for them. The reason being is that we have a lot of magical bursts, so the Frost Shield is sort of validated. And also how we use our physical damage is not like, I don't know, like Frost Shield is really good when they have a PA. He blinks in, he's going to kill someone over the course of like 3 seconds, but they don't instantly get bursted by the physical. Whereas versus Tuskar, he's going to blink in and punch someone, and you're not going to Frost Shield them until after he punches. So the majority of the physical damage coming in is actually before you put the shield on. But maybe they have some idea. The thing about drafting in Dota is that both sides will have so much experience, they'll have played so many pubs and scrims that you're actually not sure whose idea is correct. And this goes for the entire draft. It goes to individual heroes, it goes to matchup, it goes to everything about the draft. So they might have some idea with Lich where it's like, oh, we just want to shield our Leshrac, and when he runs in, they have to react to our Leshrac by using their physical damage. They're going to have to punch this guy, the shield's going to make it so they can't, he's just going to run in, and it's going to be very hard to deal with. This is actually a very, I think Aster uses this idea a lot. It's certain they played the Leshrac Lich, but I'm not too sure like if Aster would have picked the Lich with the Leshrac in this draft, but against our 3 heroes, I don't think the idea is valid. I think how we play the fights and how we use our damage makes it hard for Leshrac to run into a shield, because we can just sort of wait it out and we never have to chase into the shield. So something that we thought here, I think maybe it'll come out in True Sight, but Skitter and me were really confident in the Naga Siren here. I think a lot of people were sort of like, whoa, they're picking Naga Siren into Leshrac, which is weird because Leshrac's like one of the most common counters to Naga Siren in the game, in pubs at least. But the thing that we know about this matchup is that our 3 heroes are going to be able to handle the Leshrac, or we thought they would be able to. And Naga Siren is going to allow us to slow down the fights even more, so that Leshrac can't run in with Frost Shield. I don't think we said all of this during our draft, but we practiced Naga hero a lot. I think it was actually the hero that we spent as a team the most time getting into shape before TI. So we had some idea about how we could play some of the more intricate matchups, like Naga Siren versus Leshrac, or even some versus Pangolier or whatever counters people usually pick versus Naga Siren. The other part of Naga Siren that's good is what I talked about earlier, was that day 16-17 Enigma Lich, you pick a carry that counters Enigma Lich in lane. Obviously he's not laning with the Lich, but it counters the Enigma in lane, one of the best laners versus him. They decided to ban Lycan and Night Stalker because their idea is that they watched us, and their idea of us was probably that these guys want to play with a lot of long range nukes on vision advantage, which is a pretty good idea for us. I think we like playing that way as well. I think it was a good read by them. They banned out the Lycan Night Stalker so that we could not keep poking them off vision. We do have Naga for that, but it's not the same as like some Night Stalker who's gonna like see the moment to jump and just go and sort of invalidate their team fight. We decided to ban Bloodseeker because I think it's a good carry for Crystallis, and we felt that they needed a hero that is really strong in lane with the Lich in order to win its lane and sort of snowball their safe lane this game. One way to deal with the sort of counter pick off second pick that I mentioned before is that you pick flexible heroes. The other way is if you can craft a lane so strong that no matter what they pick, they're not going to be able to beat your lane, then it doesn't matter to have a counter pick, right? As far as the laning aspect goes. That idea is less valid for like how the heroes play in mid game, but I think it's very valid for laning where you're looking for more direct counters. Anyways, we banned Drow Ranger. Oh, this is a matchup. I remember before in the 5-day break, before that in scrims, I actually thought Drow Ranger was bad against Naga Siren. The idea being that Naga can just sleep and get on top of you. But one thing to note is Crystallis did get a rampage versus us in the upper bracket finals with Drow Ranger. And even though his game was really hard that game, we felt like he had a lot of impact. And the thing that changed is the shard plus multi-shot. Like if you multi-shot all the Naga Siren illusions, then you clear the illusions and you do a lot of AoE damage and slow with the third spell of Drow Ranger. So this was a matchup that people have actually been picking more, and it's one of the highest win rates against Naga Siren on like Dota Buff or stat sites, which honestly I was really surprised by. Not too sure if it's just a pub thing. The nice thing about our draft for theirs right now is that we feel like we can always disengage a fight. A lot of people, like I mentioned before, Tiny is good because you could toss someone back, but I feel like in this game, it's not that easy for him. There's going to be Naga illusions in his face. There's going to be some Potter multi. He's not going to see that much. We're going to be very split up and far away. In my opinion, they don't have a very, like a hard, clear way of initiating because we can always reset with the Naga song. And once we reset with the Naga song, we can shard people off. We can do a sleep arrow. We have a lot of combo potential with the Potter arrow, the hoodwink out, and everything. Okay, so up until this point, I feel like their draft was actually quite robust. I feel like Leshrac, Tiny, Enigma, Lich, it's not bad. Like I would say it's really strong for this tournament in the meta, but I feel like at the time, I felt like Pudge sort of, I don't want to say ruined, it made their lineup have a clear condition to counter it and make it hard to play. Because I think that similar to how I was talking about the damage types for heroes, I think right now they were over-indexed on magic damage a lot. Because Enigma's Midnight Pulse got changed to magic damage, Lich is all magic damage, same for Tiny, Leshrac, and then you add a Pudge who has a little bit of pure damage with Hook, but honestly it's all about the Aghanim's Rot and Dismember. So now they all only have magical damage. We decided to pick the Tidehunter game. We knew he was going to get like Pipe, Wraith Pack. I didn't know he was going to get Mage Slayer. That was just an innovation by Neta because he read the game. It was really smart. And we saw like when all 5 of the heroes went on our Tidehunter at some Roshfin fight, 5 heroes hitting him 5 seconds, Tidehunter's at 80% HP because I feel like their lineup isn't well enough balanced. I think it's really important, especially for first pick, to have a balanced lineup because you're not like, you can have an imbalanced lineup from like an outside standpoint, but it's well enough balanced versus your opponent's lineup once you see what they have, if that makes sense. Like you can specialize it to counter your opponent's lineup. It doesn't matter if you're missing things. For example, if you have very little team fight, but the opponent has slightly less team fight than you, you still have the team fight. But if they have really good team fight and you have almost no team fight, it's going to be harder for you to play that game. You have to play it a very specific way. So in my opinion, this Pudge type of pick would have been okay if they were on second pick, they saw our heroes and they decided, oh, we have enough to deal with their lineup. But unfortunately, for them, they were on first pick, and I don't think the Pudge rounded out their lineup nicely enough. So we ended up picking this Tidehunter. He's going to build ore items. I think I said in an interview after, like, oh, he's going to frontline for us. He's going to build good items. He's going to be tanky and give us team fight. And it's like a really oversimplification of the pick. But honestly, for me, the post-draft interviews are super weird because one, I'm not thinking about the draft in a 1-to-1 anymore. I think that's something I like to do more as the game develops. Two, it's super loud because Arena has a lot of crazy fans, which I really like, but it makes it hard for me to think. And I don't know, I'm just not that good at it. So anyways, the game went on with this draft, and I think we were really comfortable with this game. We felt like, so because of how our lineup functioned, it was very easy for us to take whatever fights we chose were good. And that ended up happening. If you can always choose your fights and you have better map presence, it feels like we're always going to be able to build a better network lead, and eventually we'll get the fight that we want and win the game. And this is sort of what happened this game. So we were really confident in this one. Okay, thank you for watching part 1 of this draft analysis, and I'll see you again for game 2.